I'm in Europe and there's bubbly water next to my desk, which is like a new thing for me.
I
My
love
wife,
that.
like, she puts it over there and sometimes I'll, pick up the wrong one and drink it. And I'm getting used to it.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing to get used to when the nearest water you reach for is like really fizzy and you don't
Yeah.
expect it.
Yeah.
You're like, you
A
just
hot day.
come back from being outside in a hot day and you're like, oh man, I just need something to drink, and it's room temperature extremely fizzy water.
It's one of it's life's little surprises,
Yep.
Oh man. All right. For everyone that's already been eavesdropping in on this conversation, welcome to Bullish AF. On the show today, we've got NotSoFast. Thanks for joining me, man. Welcome
Thanks,
to the show.
Whit. Happy to be here. It's always awesome to talk to you. And before, it's been in mostly mining capacity, but I like the idea of like branching out like you've done, and you've had some really insane past guests on this so far. So I'm happy to, proud to count myself among the illustrious.
Among the insane people.
Yeah.
This is, when we started Bullish AF, it was exciting because there's so many people that we interact with on a daily basis that aren't miners. And even though, you have that background, selfishly, I just want to be able to talk to more of my friends,
Yeah. Hey, that's what podcasts are. If you have good conversations and people want to listen in, and part of it is kind of areas of their interest too, then why not do it? And it seems like it's working out real well for us so far.
We're having fun. Yeah. So
Yeah,
how have things been with you, man? What's been going on?
Like, we don't have to get into deep into pandemic talk, but like, as you know, when you're in an industry where a lot of it is like calls and video calls and Twitter and DMs already, certain parts of at least your work life don't change a whole lot, and then it's just kind of the rest of the stuff around it. But bottom line, to keep it light and airy and positive, I'm really glad to see you and your family happy and healthy, and mine is too. So like everybody's all good. Just everybody's getting sick of being a little bit bored all the time, and that's basically it.
Have you guys like picked rooms in your house and designated that your private space? Is that we're noticing that's kind of happening in our house, the natural segregation of family for like a couple of hours where we're just like,
yeah.
no kill zone.
You know what? That'd be a great idea, but it just doesn't work out that way. It just doesn't end up the smallest and least adequately cooled room in the house is the one where I definitely spend most of my time, and I'm generally not alone because it's like a work room, and
Sure.
it's a ridiculous room and a terrible setup, and you would think that I would make myself more comfortable while working, but no. But anyway, like that, it just is what it is. It is what it is. Being outside a lot is awesome these days. Like getting people out and about and away from just desks and screens. Like I feel like my eyesight's gotten better. Like the need for glasses has been staved off for 5 years. These are just like screen glasses, right? Like I don't need like, prescription glasses because I've been forced to like go do fun things outside where there's nary a screen in sight.
Yeah, well, I mean, summer where you are this is the most beautiful time of the year, right?
It's
fantastic. I mean, growing up in Florida, it's like always summer, so you don't really appreciate the seasons. But now being in Latvia, and I know where you are, it's kind of similar. There's such big swings in seasons, and you learn to appreciate the weather when you can stay outside. So nice to have that.
Yeah. Like I don't know what I'd do if I didn't have the seasons to just kind of mark my high time frame, like personal experience of time. Like it's super important to me, even if like it's humid out and it sucks and I'm wishing for winter, or it's like freezing out and it sucks and I'm wishing for summer. Like there's always like that cyclicality is like I don't know, it's a big deal for people who live here. But you always end up dreaming of people who are like, what? I can't imagine like having to shovel snow out of a driveway, like just randomly have to spend an hour and a half like doing hard work, like just to drive somewhere. Like if you're from a warm place, you're just like, oh no, don't you have people that do that? And you're like, yeah, but they're all busy at exactly the same time, so you just get out and do it, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, thinking about seasons, right? The best season is here. Alt season.
Segue.
Boom.
Rolling in on that segue.
Yeah. So, dude, this has been wild. This is my
Yeah.
first one. I feel slightly violated, but also it's kind of pleasurable.
Yeah, feeling
Um,
feeling like heady, and you wake up and you look at charts and you see so much like double digit green percentages, and you're just like, huh, it's happening? It's happening to
yes.
me. We don't even have to
This
say,
is
we
the
don't even have to
great
say what it
time.
is. Maybe we can get through this entire talk without actually saying the A word, the hashtag A word.
It would be hilarious. We should have drank for this. We should have like had cocktails, and that way we could have made a game of it.
Oh God, that'd be
If this
hilarious.
was Wrecked podcast, we would have thought that far ahead.
Oh,
But
yeah, yeah.
I
Those
don't
those
plan as
guys
well as
do
those
have.
guys.
I can I just say how much I love those guys and their
They're amazing.
dynamic and their
Yeah.
like their whole. They make it funny, and I didn't realize how deep they could go into like drafting the most ridiculous things. Like
Yes.
I did another podcast figure that out, or are they just the first to like draft like colors on the early half of the rainbow or whatever? Like, is that just like,
They go deep. They go deep. It's
yeah.
that, it's the brain of someone who spends time, with their plants, let's say. Uh, you
I
know,
never heard
I
it that way,
remember
but
those
yeah.
times. I enjoyed those kinds of conversations. So I miss my
Yeah.
plants sometimes.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's it. That's a good thing here. Oh, touching on that briefly, what's the status on that over in Latvia? It's still anti, right?
Yeah, it's straight to the gulag. No,
Yeah, that's not
no,
cool. That's not
no,
cool.
it's different. They have it's a very natural society. So, you know, there tends to be a pretty big mushroom culture here, which is strange. And a lot of
Wow.
people do smoke weed. Um, but it's not something that's regularly done. Like I don't, you know, eh, I wouldn't know where to get any over here.
Yeah, yeah,
It's just one of those things where in the States, I think now you take it for granted. It's everywhere.
yeah.
And then you come here and it is a bit taboo. And my wife's grandmother actually, it grows in her garden, like
Oh
just
yeah.
wild. Yeah. So
Oh, that's
like
pretty cool.
last year I tested it, and it's CBD. It's not, it's cannabis, but it's non THC.
Hmm.
But I mean, you're talking hundreds of pounds of it,
Oh
hundreds of
wow.
pounds. Yeah. So I cured some last year before Baltic Honey Badger and grinded a massive mason jar and then gave it to a couple of friends. I was like, guys, go nuts. And they literally just stood outside and smoked joint after joint. They're like, this does nothing. I'm like, yeah, you're almost there. And they literally just went through the entire jar of this nothing weed. It was
I'm sure they
hilarious.
were feeling healthy and everything, because like
Yeah.
the CBD stuff, like it does like I do it so rarely that I actually feel it, just normal CBD physically, but it just like kind of dries you out behind the eyes and makes you a little
Mhm.
bit hungry, but for like healthy food or whatever, like, or at least that's how I
Is that it? It
that's how I
makes your joints
experience it.
better and you want to
Yeah,
eat
yeah.
vegan.
I feel like I've had a yoga session where except I've just eaten 3 gummy bears. Like, yeah.
So, dude, what's been going on with regards to you in the crypto space? What have you been up to?
So
Um,
really, like, the the story has been, and to give you a sense of exactly where it all starts, I kind of have to touch on my original like involvement thesis from 2014. And it was like, okay, like, this is new, it's not regulated, regulators are going to come into it, but before they do, like, play around, learn, and accumulate as much as you can. And then if it ever does take off, resist the urge to like do something really, really big and make a really, really big move, because the it's going to be difficult dealing with people that you gotta explain it to, like authorities, like
mhm.
where all this money came from, if it did come from. So the thesis was like, if you possibly can, if we do get one massive rising tide lifts all boats, ridiculous, everyone's getting hilariously rich and you're not type of thing, um there hang on to it, because all the people that say laws mean I get a piece of that, or laws mean that you are now like a new superhero who we have to capture and put in the lab and you have to be a test
Mm-hmm.
subject for the rest of your life. Resist the urge to create on the books. Sorry, my printer's going nuts here. Let me turn it off.
You're good, man. You getting anything good? Somebody fax you something that's sending you something inappropriate?
Yeah. Just something that I printed yesterday coming through already. You know how that stuff goes. It's really awesome. Nobody's hacked me yet. Nobody's hacked me through the printer connection yet. But where that goes is, so most of what I've been trying to do, just kind of getting my hands on early or low mining related entries of whatever illiquid shitcoins or decently positioned side projects to Bitcoin or whatever that I have gotten. The whole thesis was, well, just hold through 2 cycles and aim for the top of the second one, assuming one will even happen. And one happened, and
Mm-hmm.
it smells like on the wind, like another one's about to happen. And definitely like the global macro situation would suggest that it might as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like the stars seem to be aligning. So in the interim time, though, holding through a drawdown from your top portfolio value, no matter like what it might have, no matter how unrealistic it might have been if you tried to like actually cash everything out and everything. I knew that would be the hardest part, and I tried to like temper my expectations and plan for the worst case scenarios, and it mostly all happened like from the top. I'm sure I took a drawdown of like 95% or whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
even if you spend all your time trying to coach yourself for that, there's no way that that cannot like affect you in somewhat of a negative way. So
Right.
I did my best to like insulate, if I was stressed out about it, insulate the people around me from being stressed out too,
Mm.
and just say like, oh, it's fine. I planned for this. And it was true. It was fine. I planned for this, but I realized like I gotta remove my focus from doing all this stuff, because I have wrecked myself by over trading before or whatever, like prior to crypto, like long before. So I thought, all right, I need fucking hobbies and friends and new things that have nothing to do with crypto. So I started like just shit posting on Twitter rather than doing much of any kind of in-depth looks at things or commentary. I still did that when I found something of interest, but mostly I tried to exemplify what it would look like, still keeping an eye on things the way they were going, and kind of listening to the ground and licking my finger and sticking it up to the wind, just like seeing when the first waves of a new bull market would come. And like, I'm not interested in looking at charts and stuff. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not interested in the trader grind and the culture. Like I experienced that. It was awesome when I was in my 20s. Like I'm not anymore. I don't want to get involved in that except peripherally, to be like friends with those people and
Sure.
get their read on stuff. So I've just been, all this is to say that I've been teaching myself how to hodl when it's probably right now it looks like the dumbest move someone could have ever done. Like if I were to write a book about how I soared so high and then I fell so far and give everybody numbers, like it would probably be like a bestseller, just because people would point and laugh so hard at how badly I fucked up. But if we do experience another cycle, then and I do come out on top, it's a redemption story, and I write the
Sure.
book and it just stays on the bestseller list for like another year, like that type
Yeah.
of shit. And that's, it's I'm joking, I'm being facetious when I say that. I really don't think my
Sure.
story is that interesting, but like
But, but I mean, dude, look, honestly, there's not a lot of people who have the experience that you've had, and the bear market was brutal, right?
it
And
was.
we've talked throughout that brutality, and you've always been a person that I've looked to and had a lot of respect for, and still do.
Well,
And I know a
thanks,
lot of
man.
other people have as well, and do as well. So part of that comes from the fact that you've stuck it out, right? Like, how many people can you look back and say, okay, they had a very similar, trajectory, if you will, as you, but they're not here anymore, right? At some point, the holding was too hard and they capitulated, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Selling at that 95%, down in their portfolio. Um,
yeah. I suppose it's true. And you know what? I want to make it kind of known that it's not wrong to capitulate for so many reasons, like for capital preservation. Like if you make a mistake and you over risk, like capitulation is a natural part of the process of, we don't always assess our risk exposure
right.
properly, and
Yep.
it's always dynamic. So capitulation is not death. I mean, I would hope it's not.
Sure.
You hear all the stories of people on Wall Street jumping out of windows, and that's
Yeah.
just over risk and
Yeah.
of so much, right? So capitulation, yeah, obviously it's bad, but it's preservation of some capital. It's a darn sight better than getting an account liquidated or getting your entire stack liquidated because you use like leverage or something, right? Um, so I don't begrudge anyone for capitulation because it's often a retreat to go and lick wounds and then survive to maybe take something on another day, or maybe not, and just go into something else that's like maybe not as financially rewarding, maybe as financially rewarding, but maybe rewarding in some other way. So like for all the shit we talk and fun we poke about capitulators and the
Mhm.
wrecked, like we've all been there in
Yeah.
small circumstances, right? Like
Right.
it's something, it's a common ground that we can all have. And I don't think it's wrong as a thing. Like there's always like, you losses are learning experiences and wins are wins, right? Like that's the whole mindset, and capitulation is just a big one. um and there, I'm not saying like there weren't times that I like thought about like, whew, maybe I exit all the crypto markets, and maybe if stuff goes down a little more, I buy a bunch. I do a thing where I buy back as much as I can of everything I had, and it will just be like me buying back or gradually buying back everything I had lost in like the time I got hacked in 2015, for example.
Mm.
Like I would just think about it that way and then be like, yeah, this is a crazy Wild West place. Like you might get like shot in the shoulder, but you didn't get shot in the heart. So you can get
Live
up
to
and
fight
try
another
again.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and here we are, right? And the good times are back, so they
Yeah.
say. I mean, because you've been through this before, how are you feeling as we roll into Q3 of 2020 here?
So I mostly feel, because I feel like as you get a little older, you get a little more empathy to what's going on around you. And so I
Okay.
don't feel euphoric like one might expect. I know, like I'll know euphoria when I see it, but right now, man, I just worry so much about my neighbors and friends to the south of me. Like I'm up in Canada for anybody that doesn't
Mhm.
know that's watching this, and we have a lot fewer people, so our government was able to dump so much burr money on us that we were super comfortable. Everybody was super comfortable while the whole pandemic thing was shaking out. And while there are similar like protests and stuff going on here, it's not out of economic desperation as a backdrop. And there's very little, like rioting and clashing and everything like that. And I truly am scared for my people south of me because their empire, you know how like you hear talk about like the Roman Empire when it was falling, like nobody knew it was happening while it was happening. They didn't have the dissemination of information that we do today.
Right now,
And
yeah.
now it's kind of you can see that it's happening while it's happening. And that's like an existential thing, you know, like the American dream was the world's theme for, I want to say, the past like 80 years.
Yeah, more probably.
And
Yeah.
it is so clearly not a thing anymore. Like the
Hmm.
emperor's been naked so long, his dick is frozen off. And
And it's weird to laugh about that, but I think you're spot on, you know.
and it's like it's just sad. I mean, you know, you in a way you've escaped. Like how does that feel? Like does is your family like affected? Are they just kind of close to it? Like
So I mean, my whole family was here. My wife, my kids were here 6, 8 months before, right? So we planned on coming to Europe and spending 2019, 2020 in Europe, and
wow.
working from our computers and traveling. My kids are all going to start their, you know, 15-year jail sentence with school pretty soon. So
Oh my.
like before we're attached to them having to deal with that routine, we just wanted to travel as a family.
Yeah.
And they came over. They're all red passport holders, so they're fine to stay here as long as they want. I had to go back and forth.
Right.
And then in December, I came, stayed for a little while, had to come back to the States for business stuff. Actually flew into New York right at the same time that cruise ship was there.
Oh
Right.
damn.
And that was when like the fear started to hit the family. I started to become aware of all of the like the troubles that were occurring.
Yeah.
And it sounds really shitty to say, but even then, like you check in, you hear about all the stuff going on in China, and how this is really affecting them, and how the wealthy Chinese have escaped, right, and they've went elsewhere to avoid these lockdowns.
Yeah.
So I check into my hotel in New York, and it's literally 100%, well, 99.9% Chinese and Whitney, right?
Wow.
So when I get there, you're like, shit, this is real. Like this is really happening.
Yeah.
And experiencing that was weird. And then coming back to Latvia about a month later, 2 weeks, right? And my wife and I had this conversation. She's got old relatives that are close, so we're like, we should just do this. So I
Mm-hmm.
stayed in a hotel, quarantined for 2 weeks, and during that period I got sick.
Oh shit.
And yeah, and that was my thought too. I'm like, uh-oh, scratchy throat, fever, oof. So I went down to the front desk and I'm like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
where do I get tested? Right. All this is going on. She's like, go up to your room, shut the door, don't let anyone in. So I did that. Within 6 hours, they had someone come to my hotel room, test me on site, give me my results within 24 hours. Right. And that whole time I'm like, all right, well, this is efficient,
Yeah.
uh, 2 weeks
Like
later,
we
like,
can beat this if this is the system. We can beat
yeah,
this. Yeah.
yeah. And then like everyone stayed home. It was a lockdown here for about a month. And now life is back to normal. Like
That's so good.
very few new cases. People are out and about. I mean, we've went on a couple of trips with the family locally.
Yeah.
And everyone's cautious and distant and wearing masks when it makes sense to.
Yeah.
Um, but it's like I talk to my family in the States and I mean, what a shit show.
Yeah. It's just so bad. And I'm kind of wondering if like because of the lens it shone on all the other problems down there, I just wonder like if it's gonna I feel like the US is gonna be like turmoil of hotspots, like mini Portlands, just here or there in every major city. And like, you know, eventually like minor cities when people get fed up or they see what's coming next and they, for lack of a better word, like invade places, small places like 2 hours drive away and just try and escape what's going on. It feels bad, man. It feels like there's almost nowhere to go if you see it coming other than like having a lot of money and going to a protected like compound type thing. I joke with a bunch of my friends that, you know, I don't live too far from the Canada US border, but I joke with a bunch of my friends that like we are going to see at one bridge like a bunch of armed Americans, because we're way less armed, just kind of storm the fat dudes that man the border gates and just come and literally brandish guns and kick Canadians out of their homes in a border city and just establish a straight up invasion because they're trying to get away from whatever. There's lots of places where that could happen. Like,
Yeah, well, I mean that's the whole thing, right? Is every society go like everything has cycles, whether it's the
yeah,
market,
yeah,
whether it's countries,
yeah.
and we were coming up on that cycle where it's tons of years of prosperity, and that prosperity has led to a different quality of people, let's say,
Mm.
right? And what's happening is through that society has just become in the states. It's moved very far away from what it was in the 80s and 90s, which a
Oh,
lot of
big
people
time.
consider that golden era of the US,
Yeah,
right? And you know, it's really hard to imagine it ever going back. I'm applying for residency in Europe now, right?
wow.
Because what sense does it make to try to plan a life in the states at this point in time? You know,
Yeah, it's
business
much
can
less
still be
stable.
there.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
It-
and the world is so small now. You know, like you're able to travel freely anywhere. You know, it's a
yeah,
little bit more difficult now because of flights and stuff,
yeah.
but
But we all know that's temporary. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
So
then what's the
that's
real
real.
benefit? You know?
It's true. It's true. And when you put it that way, it really lays bare the fact that the US is built for like corporate and business citizens. It is easy to live there as a for businesses to live there and for corporations to grow there and prosper. But for humans that are the cogs in those businesses, like obviously the owners are enriched and the workers are, you know, not super well supported as well. And that sounds like mega liberal left for me to say, but like it's just um if I could call that observation apolitical, I would like it. Just seems like it's friendlier for it's a business producing engine rather
Mhm.
than like a place where people live, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the duality of the United States politics that a lot of people don't really talk about because whether right or left, they're both business focused. Like
Mm-hmm.
neither party really has a focus on people. It's just which business interests and which parts of business are these entities, these political parties focused on, right? And I could
Yep.
go way deep down this rabbit hole, but usually the left leans towards bigger business, bigger government, more control, less freedom, and the right leans towards lower taxes, more personal responsibility, capitalism to the nth degree,
Yeah.
not as much concern for the everyman, but more of an everyman for himself or herself kind of mentality. But they're both at the end of the day business focused, and
Yeah. Yeah.
there's no moderation anymore. There's no middle where they
Yeah.
meet and they say, let's care a little bit about people. Let's also make sure businesses can thrive. You
Exactly.
know,
Yeah. They
um,
call it oh, I'm the Overton window, and of like the accepted breadth of political discourse from left to right, and it's shrunk so much. It's like around one point, and that point is business commerce,
yeah,
and and everything else just gets laughed at as like radical or never happen level ridiculous. And then there's that whole I think you probably like know I'm such a fan of like epsilon theory and Ben Hunt's description of it as a widening gyre, where within that window the polarization is so big that the center can't hold and just people start pushing to whatever extremes they can within that window,
yeah,
dividing over whatever issues there are, so that like no true actual discourse and coming together and finding points of agreement can ever happen again. And you just have like a conquerable divided populace where, you know, the business can go on irrespective of like all that stuff. So that's sad too, and I hope it shakes out differently. And my hope lies in the fragmentation and the distancing of like, you know, maybe stuff will go to the states level to get a handle on like the pandemic and recoveries and dealing with the issues and stuff, and maybe like micronization back towards city states or just pockets of areas where stuff is going pretty okay and it's under the
yep,
radar and nobody's really looking to like flee bad areas and go there, is a good thing. And then like kind of families kind of sponge each other up and stay in places where they just kind of live a quiet life and rebuild at the local level. I'm hoping that's how it goes for more places.
It's going to need to occur. I mean, it's got to be bottom up at this point. It can't be top down. Top down
Yeah.
doesn't work in the U.S. and
Yeah.
it doesn't really work anywhere. But U.S. is the clearest, biggest example at this point in time. I tend to think that a Texas or a California are going to secede. You know, when things get
Wow.
to a certain point, because I mean, Texas has kicked around the idea for a long time. California's kicked around the idea for a long time. They both have very big economies by themselves. Like if, I don't know the exact facts, but just them, right? They would be among the top economies in the world just as a state, right?
Yeah.
So if they broke off and became their own nations, so there's the potential for that, right? And if things get bad enough, that's what will eventually occur. And you know, what's the government going to be able to do to stop it aside from starting a massive civil war, which at this point in time, I don't know anyone in the States that would fight. Like that's the other thing is, you know, but anyways, I guess we could go down that rabbit hole pretty deep. Really all that's happening is I think that, you know, America is becoming Bcash and BSV, and we're just
Oh my
fucked.
God, that's so mean. So mean. So where's Bitcoin? The rest of the world? Is the rest of the world Bitcoin?
I think
Did they
right now
fork
China
off?
is Bitcoin. I
China's
think that
Bitcoin.
argument could be
Oh,
made.
geez.
Yeah, yeah.
What's Canada then? I hope Canada's
Ethereum?
Litecoin at least. No,
Ethereum?
we're not cool enough to be Ethereum. I think the you know what? The greater European area is Ethereum. And we're Litecoin
Okay,
up here. We're Litecoin up here.
there you
We're
go.
yeah.
America's testnet. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we're America's testnet.
Or I guess it would be China's testnet, huh?
Yeah,
Oof.
China's well, maybe China's testnet, but
We're all China's testnet.
yeah, we literally are. I believe we are. It's kind of scary. Well,
I don't I don't know
how
how
do
I
we
feel
deal with
about it,
this?
man.
Like, yeah, I, I I respect the way an autocracy can get stuff done. Um, but then what does that mean when it trickles down to the individual level? Like, obviously, um, freedom's inborn to Americans and a lesser extent Canadians. Like, we really cherish our individualism and our right to say, hell no, I'm wearing no mask, da, 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 like that type of thing, right? Like, there is very little feeling of like doing it for the good of my compatriots type thing. And I think that's where consumption of whatever that autocracy produces gets its hooks in, obviously, and then we act like we're exercising freedom when really we're not quite so much. And I think like bringing it all back around to crypto, and probably to a bigger, more recent extent, just people's individual ability to like F around in the stock markets through Robinhood or through like TikTok Dogecoin pumps or whatever. Um, that is going to be just one of many new expressions of individual freedom. And I think on par, like that's a super good thing. That's where crypto in part will be like the salvation of the individual in a way that's not harmful or antisocial as like, you know, the whole gun debate or the
Mm-hmm.
protecting liberties debate or the whole like you know, I'm not going to wear a mask because I don't have to debate or any of those things where it's like the individual will bangs up against like the betterment of the collective or what an understanding of what that even is. You know what I'm saying?
I do. Yeah. Okay. So just to, you know, go down the bong rip rabbit hole here.
Yeah, yeah,
I think that and we may have talked about this before. We're definitely headed towards the Ready Player One world, right?
yeah,
And I think the lack of empathy it comes from a lack of interaction. You know, you have so few face-to-face conversations. There's no repercussions for the things that you say. Your timeline is a combination of like world tragedy and stupid memes, all one after the other. So
yeah.
you don't
Which
have a
each
way to filter.
desensitize you to the other too.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And, you know, as we move towards this more virtual realm, where I think that, you know, that's the majority of our interactions are there already. And
Hmm.
pretty soon it's just going to be, instead of tweet to tweet, it's going to be avatar to avatar, right? And I think that that is, the world that we're moving towards is going to be propelled forward in a way by everything that is going on in crypto right now. All of the layer one, layer two, the dApps that are being built, a lot of the currencies that are out there. Even even though it's a hype bubble at this point, the DeFi and the CeFi opportunities. I mean, that's really, I think the what mass adoption is going to look like.
Oh yeah.
We'll see society come back to life, but it will be on this virtual plane where we're represented by these avatars or whatever we choose to represent ourselves as, these
Hmm.
skins, if you will, and that's where everything will be. So, yeah, that's
Yeah, I agree with that. And the interesting thing right now is how still wide open the land space is on that. Like there's
mhm,
still so much that can be rebuilt. And I think the kind of massive maybe call it an obvious bubble or call it just like a really, really quick propagation of DeFi and like the profitability and the mind share of everybody, what's going on, and the new
mhm,
hotness thing to talk about.
yeah,
Um, like obviously we've seen bubbles before and we know what cyclicality looks like and we know that's going to implode and we know like for example pre-sales of stuff are going to get hacked and gamed and pegs are going to break and accounts are going to be like hacked or admin keys are going to be wielded against what you would think decentralization would prevent,
right.
and all that stuff is going to it's going to bust obviously, but what survives will actually be the core vision of DeFi, and then we'll sort of rebuild it back better, except that I hope at least it will continue to be, less kowtowing to regulation like the sort of ICO market was. Like
Yeah.
the ICO bubble and its popping was just a straight up invitation to validate the narrative of regulators and controllers of the status quo that were just like, see, you guys can't do it yourselves. You
Hmm.
need us for this space.
Yeah.
And that was like one of the biggest, like, disheartening sort of macro events to me. And I always call it like the regulation story arc. And then I realized, oh shit, this isn't going to end because we just invited them in and now they're here.
Now
And,
they're here. Yeah. You
and
can't kick them out. Yeah.
yeah, you can't kick them out because we in our greed gave them that ground on a silver platter, and it sucks because maybe it didn't have to happen that way, but we tried tokenization long before Ethereum's ICO boom and craze. There was like Counterparty and even Doge Party and all that stuff, and it didn't quite make it because the UI wasn't there. But then with Ethereum, it was. So whatever, the
Counterparty.
regulators have that
Wow.
part. Financing, distributed financing, they got it, but they won't always. And I think individual investing is way harder to police, and they actually want it to propagate because, at least in that sense, people are responsible for their own trading decisions,
Hmm.
and they can make hefty fee haircuts off of micro traders, like especially if fees are obfuscated in really, really easy looking to use simplified UIs. Like I had to look at Uniswap, for example,
Yeah.
and you just have no idea what fees you're paying. And I didn't even
Mm-mm.
bother to work it out because I was like, I've seen this before. I've seen this before on simple coin swap services and worked out that I was like, what? I'm paying like a 10% spread on this. Like I could reduce my funds to literally zero in 20 trades that way. Like
Hmm.
and okay, yeah, maybe it drives adoption and it lets people onboard it, but it's so rent seeking of the providers of that
Right.
service that, okay, we gotta let the bubble do its thing and then bust back down, and then we'll have the building economy where competition drives down those spreads and makes
Yeah.
it actually fair and equitable. And like exactly what I'm talking about because your primary last 2 years have been spent building out of the rubble and sort of establishing hash rate and other stuff that you're working on as like, a legitimate long-term player in a space that grows at a normal sustainable pace, right?
Yeah. Dude, you mentioned Uniswap, and they're owned by, well, they're a big investor is Coinbase, so that kind of gives you some of the
Yeah.
ethos that goes into it. But yeah, I mean the fees on ETH lately have just been ridiculous. Each of these blocks, I think 30% of the blocks are transactions right now, transaction fees. So
Yeah.
you're getting a ton of those, and obviously, I mean, for miners, that's fantastic. Mining
Yep.
profitability for GP miners has been great. And I tweeted out in jest that DeFi is good for miners, and that got a lot of negative blowback, but it's true. Like at
Yeah.
this point, you have people who are taking Bitcoin and they're wrapping it and basically staking it for yield farming, right?
Yeah.
And that in effect takes some Bitcoin out of the circulating supply, which is good for price, which is good for miners. You've got the Ethereum craziness that's going on right now, and it's nuts. I mean, the fees on some of these transactions, slippage on Uniswap, by the way, I believe is 3 to 6%.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, which isn't small. And you can nickel and dime yourself to death, especially if you're jumping. They FOMO in and they're quick to cut way before they should. So there's a lot of fees that are being lost there.
Oh yeah, and they don't even realize the fees there, especially when it's like it's hidden so well. And they play it being the trader, and saying, oh, at least I got out of this one even, and then you realize, like, I mean, churning yourself to death. I scalped
Yeah.
the NYSE for a very long time, and there were days where like I would have a gross of like making 15 grand and like a net loss of $200, and just been like,
Yep.
wow, I did a lot of work. I cleaned a market, and everybody who takes fees just loves me today. And I would feel so bad about myself for like putting myself through all that stress to like lose $200.
Give them all of that money.
Yeah, they literally got all of it. And there were days
Jesus.
where like, and not, that wasn't even the worst that I'd seen for other traders that were involved. So like that, fee churn is a big deal with that kind of thing. And I guess, for anybody that gets sucked into the trader mindset, it's easy to fall into that trap and not go, long term or anything like that, in order to like save yourself from that churn, because you have to be doing something, and you see people tweeting charts and you want to tweet charts too, but oh no, you're a larper if you don't take action on a chart that you tweeted. But you have to have engagement. So if you try to make your number of trades match the number of tweets it takes to sustain attention and gain a following and keep that dopamine gushing in your brain,
Yeah.
you're gonna have a bad time for fees.
I mean, look, let's be realistic. The majority of the people with very, very large accounts trade very, very small stacks. And there are exceptions. And
Yeah, yeah.
they're, not to throw shade at anyone, but the majority of larger accounts that I have talked to are not trading as much as they, let people believe. I mean, you're talking about people who are moving a price by, dozens and dozens of percentage points that maybe have $1,000 in the trade.
Oh my God.
And it's crazy. And lately it's been that way with mining too. There's a lot of miners that I've talked to. They just are not, you talk to people about their mining setups and what's going on. And a lot of people shut off and didn't turn back on. And, I think the weird social pressure that's put on people to just keep going with things tends to weigh on them. Right. And we've all been there at certain times, right? It's crazy. Okay. So all of that aside, right now, the last thing that I heard, and educate me on this, please. What the hell is blockchain note, and what is going on with all of that situation?
Oh, wow. Okay. So this is just a late stage, your average, like, call it a Bitcoin talk shitcoin, where it was an announcement that I read early 2019. And I was like, this will never take off. The pre-mine is like 60% or like even more than that. Right. And I was just like, it can't really work. And then funnily enough, it got a bunch of crypto Twitter users as sort of a core following.
Hmm.
And eventually, because I've been since early 2017 on a quest to find and maybe even make an early adoption as a user and content producer
Hmm.
of like a Twitter alternative, I checked it out and I was super pleased to see that, holy shit, the app just works on my phone. It's 24-hour ephemeral, so I can post stuff on there that I feel like I can't post on Twitter. So there's an impetus for me to use it regularly in a creator, not consumer mode.
Hmm.
And the imagine like a Twitter app with a wallet attached. It just works. Like it just worked for me. And I had a bigger look at the economics of it, and it's as vulnerable as you might expect a script coin with a 20 block difficulty adjustment to be. There's like some disgruntled early miner who is daily um butthurt rage diff jacking it with like a spend of like $8 on nice hash every day just to like prove a point and make tips in the app be slow or whatever. And like
uh,
that's just shitcoin things. Like
yeah.
I've
Yeah.
seen much larger coins be completely disrupted by one disgruntled actor for whatever reason. And it's off the radar. Like any big Litecoin miner could take a look at it and kill it dead, but it's just not worth it because it's not worth making a shorting market and
Right.
the very small exchanges that it does trade on, or whatever. But I realized that I liked using it, and I put a little bit of like crappy buy support up on exchanges, and the owner sold off a bunch of the pre-mine as like a pre-sale to investors, and of course that sale was centralized and it undercut miners, and I think that's what made some more people that had initially supported it like pissed off. But I mean, what do? You have to get rid of the pre-mine or distribute it in one way or another. So if
Right.
the project is valid and it can spur some development or fund it, then if you believed in it before, you should continue to believe in it. But the bottom line is like, yeah, I bought a small bag. I got put underwater by that whatever pre-sale the person did, and like whatever,
Yeah.
that's okay. Like you expect that to happen if it's an app that I continue to enjoy using and logging onto and like posting on more or less daily. Like I feel like that's a big ass win for a small independent crypto project. And that I appreciate you like being curious about it and giving it a bunch of airtime on this. Really, I don't want to like oversell whatever it
Is it
is,
trading
because
anywhere?
yeah, it's trading on really small exchanges,
Okay.
unnamed exchange, which is run by a guy named Teal Köln, a German name. He made like a
Okay.
beer related coin on Yobit in 2014. That guy's
Nice.
cool. He's an OG. I'm sure he's made hundreds of Bitcoins on Yobit, and he's I would say he's like a true neutral of the crypto alignment space. Like he's like, you know what? I could run an exchange. I could list all the old coins that Cryptopia had, or like orphaned coins that are kind of old and that still have bag holders and users and people that want to work on them. I can be a haven for that. And I I dip my toe in very gradually, as one does when you're checking out a new like third tier exchange, and it
Hmm.
works. And I just I play around on there. Like it's one of the only places that Trollcoin trades on, and that's just like my fun thing. Like the whole mindset behind that is it gives me license, because it's such a joke. It gives me license to shill ridiculously and blow off all the integrity steam that I can, while also calling it the worst coin ever, because it is. And like all the stuff where I want to misbehave, but
Yeah.
I code of ethics prevents me from doing that. Like I can misbehave on Trollcoin and tell everybody it's going to like 10 bitcoins per Trollcoin, and then also say that it's the worst cryptocurrency ever created, and it's still fun, right? So it's a type of place where you can enjoy that type of shit. And really, that was always my main love of cryptocurrency in the first place, is that like you can have these ridiculous ground floor community cryptocurrencies that end up becoming like a big deal or a big thing. And
Yeah.
Dogecoin was the original prototype of that. And it is so incredibly cool to see it having caught on with like a generation of people who were probably like under 10 years old when Dogecoin was launched, you know?
Isn't that
Like,
crazy?
yeah,
How does that make you feel like ancient? Like I see
yeah,
these people that are coming in off TikTok and it's just
yeah. Like I have obviously like I feel like I reference how ancient I am all the time, which is, you know, my own personal issue. But like, it's cool to see that something of that was born of mimetic value had a resurgence with people that, like, you know, like that's what spoke to them. That's the language of the people who, when we're old and are in need of care, those are the people taking care of us. So it's worth our while to understand their language. And I feel good that I still can, in a way. And that's something that, you know, literally straight up, Dogecoin led me to what I know is going to be my lifelong career, that it still resonates with a younger generation, even if it was for some ridiculously stupid misunderstanding of economics pump and dump type thing, where, you know, these kids are trying to get each other to put each other's $25 allowance into it
it's a
and make 10
25.
grand.
It's gonna go to 40. Yeah.
Like, just watching some of those things, you see how the younger generation perceive, like, there isn't like truth or lies anymore with them. It's
Yeah.
speaking a narrative, or if it's not spoken, it doesn't exist.
Right.
And
Right.
that's a new sort of dichotomy that you can apply market wide, that I'm trying to get my head around now. And it's hard for an older gentleman, but like that's what it is. Like, you say that something happened or is a certain way, and there's what's it called, like an imbalance, like it's not symmetrical, there's an asymmetry of proof, where if you put something out in the world, you dare everybody to take 10 times the effort to prove you wrong.
Right.
And that's the dynamic of narrative versus unspoken right now. All it is just competing for attention and memes of what people think must be true because everybody's repeating it, but we don't know enough or can't put forth the effort to fact check that stuff.
Well, I
And
got to say,
maybe, yeah.
I think the real top signal that we're going to be looking for this alt season is when you are on TikTok shilling Dragon Chain. That's
Holy shit.
that's it. That's it.
Yeah. I'll
That's the peak.
like, I'll be relying when you know what is, you know how that's going to happen too. Someone's going to say or put together like a bet fund on Augur or something, like, is he going to make another Dragon Chain shilling video when it pumps to this amount, and can we pump it to this amount? And then it's going to pump to that amount, and then there's going to be some kind of like prize payoff where, like, someone finds a public address of mine and they're like, he has to do it now because he's been paid this much, and I won't
Dragon
be able
Chain
to escape
bounty.
it. Like, yeah, like, honestly, like, I don't think I'm public eye relevant to the new cohort enough anymore. Like, and I feel good about that. Like, I'm just kind of like this wispy old, like, spirit, like
Okay. Hold on. All right. So you're not actually old, right? Like I know in crypto years, everyone that was here in 2014 is now like 150.
yeah,
But in
that's what
reality,
I'm referring to. That's what I'm referring
but I
to.
mean, in reality, it's like, you know, you guys, and I was talking to Scott Melker about this,
Mhm.
but you have to be careful of what you tweet because it manifests, right? If you've got 100,000 followers and you say that you like anything with the hashtag or with the cash tag, right? If you have a position, number go up is a real thing, right? It's gonna occur.
Yeah, and to be really forthcoming about that, like, I started recognizing that when I would tweet about something, in the bear market, or sorry, in the bull market, like in the heady days, like it would spike 10% and then it would immediately go back down. So like I kind of felt better about it. I'm like, I'm just talking about what I like. And there's that whole thing that everybody with an audience wrestles with, where like, at what point do I have a responsibility for what I say? And I can't just talk about what I like anymore. And I'm
Yeah.
fortunate that like in the grand scheme of things, I'm an extremely small fish. I don't have the responsibility that somebody like fucking Joe Rogan does, for example. Um,
I gotcha. Yeah.
but yet also like it made me aware, and I sadly had to stop tweeting entries and exits. But for my portfolio and my bags, that was actually a good thing, because I felt like I didn't have to churn out content and be like, shit, I got to buy something so people see that I'm active. Like that I
Right.
never ended up getting to that point. And it meant that like, I didn't make as many stupid decisions or overtrade or anything like that. So I feel like I've kept an even enough keel. And of course now, like I don't really even understand what's going on with my Twitter account. I get notifications of new followers like constantly that I have to turn it off, and it's just the number has stayed the same or decreased like slightly over the past almost 3 years now. So like I really don't understand what's going on, and I don't care to. It's just like I get the engagement of like a 5,000 follower account, and I'm totally happy with it. But the clout of like more.
Just it's just the resistance, right? It's that
Yeah,
resistance,
it's the I'm up against some like bear whale, anti not so fast bear whale on Twitter.
You and Bully are right there. We just need the resistance to break so alt season can come.
Yeah, actually, he's a great indicator. If he suddenly doubles to like 200K followers or whatever, because he's got like very, very high level tweets and takes, and you would be excused for wondering like, does this guy know what Bitcoin is at times? Because like he's off the topic, but he started there. But
Oh, that's
he
so
just
funny.
got further. Bella's another one like that.
Yeah.
Like she's wonderful. She's like the sweet angel of crypto, honestly. Like, like
Yeah.
she's a wonderful, wonderful person. I haven't actually met her
Yes.
in person, but
I have. She's great.
yeah,
She's
yeah,
very, very nice.
yeah.
And Bully's very nice as well. Definitely does know what Bitcoin is, but I'm so glad that we got that on air so that I can, it's like soundbite that and send it to him
It's a
constantly.
little,
You know?
it's a little chirp his way. He and I I somehow my account was not following him at one point, and Twitter doing weird stuff that it does, and he actually messaged me saying like, "Bro, are we good?" I'm like, "Oh shit, that's why I like haven't heard from you lately," and that seems to happen with a lot of people very often, and I just you can't explain it. All the best you can do is like not make an issue out of it, because we're a little less toxic than the rest of Twitter, I think, in the crypto space. I think we honestly are.
Yeah. And it's nice. I mean, having relationships like this where we're able to have a conversation, the people that I've met in crypto, they've changed my life. It sounds
Yeah.
cheesy, but it's true. Like my life would be completely different had I not stumbled into this weird dystopian chat room that is full of the craziest, best people I've ever had the opportunity of getting to know. And
Yeah, it really is.
yeah,
And what for all my like uh chirping and denigrating of like what I call like the suit boys and stuff, like the corporate people that came in later than I did, like part of it is my own like issues of feeling displaced by like people that were way more professional than me at everything they do. But honestly, like those people are people too, and they're not like unable to pick up a culture and put a wicked awesome new spin on it and breathe new life into it. Like we need that level of higher smarts and like better tempered humor and less skin in the game and less likely to rage. Like that professionalism coming into the space, like I see it now as such a benefit for what it is. Like even if the corporatization of crypto has made me sad in some areas, like with regulation and stuff, fortunately people are still able to act as individuals and all separate from that, and it shows, and it's a net win for crypto culture as much as I understand that, and I don't know if I really do, but I feel like that's at least a net win.
All right, so we'll finish the show on not so fast, not understanding crypto culture.
I got
No.
because I don't. I got asked, do you understand how Twitter works, like last week, and I was like, I don't understand how Twitter works. I responded to that. I don't.
Dude, what a weird place Twitter is becoming too. And I know, like, I've tried out Twitch, and I haven't looked at Blockchain Note. Maybe or Blockchain Note. I think.
Yeah.
Check that out.
The Twitter account's Blockchain Note. The app is Note Blockchain. Yeah.
Note Blockchain. Okay. Yeah, there's got to be an alternative. It's crazy to think that, we can be censored and shadow banned and all of these different things. And I guess there's also Telegram and Discord, and God, how many other ways can we communicate with each other? But we all seem to be in the same conversations on every platform.
Yep.
So it's great. It's great to be able to do this and interact and have this when, like, we can't go out and grab a beer right now,
Yeah.
So
do you know how much
awesome
I would like that?
Oh my God, dude, I cannot wait. Yeah. I'm probably going to overindulge, definitely. But anyways, man, I'm really glad that we were able to have this talk today. And thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Yeah. It's awesome to get BullishAF kicked off. We've been really focused on expanding at Hashrate Media. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in to this show. Hashrate podcast will be coming back in the next few days. Also, very special announcement, and I thought there's no better time than to let this cat out of the bag when NotSoFast is on the show. But in the next couple of days, we will be premiering the very first episode of Hashrate Media Presents Shitcoin Talk with your boy Dumb as the host. Coming on over to Hashrate. We're happy to have him. We're excited to see what he's going to create. It's going to be some awesomeness. Shitcoin Talk Saturdays are coming back just in time for this alt run that we've got going on. So everyone, make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you get notified when Dumb goes live with his stream. And I know he's got some people that he's excited to have on the show. And hey, we're excited to see what he's got. So until then, everyone out there, stay bullish. Thanks for watching this episode of BullishAF, a Hashrate Media production. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing for more great content like this every day of the week. In addition, feel free to leave a comment below and let us know who you'd like to see on the next episode of BullishAF. Also, if you head over to hashrate.com, you can sign up for our free weekly newsletter, Difficulty Adjustment. Every Wednesday morning, we provide you with the latest news and information on Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and mining. Plus, each week, one newsletter subscriber will be selected at random to receive a free Ledger Nano S cryptocurrency wallet. So go ahead and sign up today. Who knows, you may be the next lucky winner. Want more from Hashrate? Go ahead and follow Hashrate TV on Twitter. It's the easiest way to keep track of our newest content all in one place. That's at HASHR8_TV. Thanks again for watching, and we will see you very soon. Please remember that all content appearing on this or any other Hashrate channel is strictly for informational and entertainment purposes only. You should not construe any such information as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. Consult a licensed financial advisor before investing yours or anyone else's